So, all right, I am recording, and so I have with me my very, very good friend PJ Izaguirre. Did I say that right?
Uh,
Izaguirre.
tomato, tomato. The way I pronounce it is Izaguirre, but
Izaguirre. Okay, good. I just want to make
yeah.
sure because I do that with my students too. It's like if I'm really botching your name, please tell me.
No, it's all right. My high school band instructor used to call me Izaguirre. Yeah, because of the way it's spelled, it's like McGuire, but
Sure,
the last chunk is funny.
that is
That
funny.
root.
That was-
But yeah, completely wrong.
I get Pedraza a lot.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
like
funny.
his
I've
name
heard
like
people call you that,
yeah, I know.
like
I'm like,
reference your
okay,
podcast and then say, "Yeah, Donna Pedraza." And I'm like,
so weird.
no, it's Pazdera.
I know. It's like, hello. Anyway, so yeah, so I've asked you to be on this exciting show because you are an extraordinary person.
Oh,
Probably the
thank you.
youngest, huh?
Thank you. I mean,
Um,
you are too, Donna. I literally wouldn't be doing this without you.
That's
For everyone that, yeah, for everyone that's listening or that will listen to this, it's like I wouldn't be in the position I'm in at all, if it hadn't been for you. Posting on Facebook.
that's right. Well, the funny thing, I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but I was really close to because I hadn't met you in person, and you were just like one of those tangential people I sort of knew,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
through the group, and so I was almost ready to like unfriend you, not because I didn't like you or anything, but it was just sort of like sometimes
Sure, it's
like,
like, eh.
yeah, well, sometimes it'll be people's birthdays. I always feel terrible. Like sometimes I'll unfriend people on their birthdays. I'm like, I haven't heard from that person ever. I don't even know who they are. But I thought, oh, all right, I'm gonna keep it. Thank God I did. But
That's so funny.
I know. See, I didn't know if I'd ever told you that before, but
No, you had it, but completely understandable because it's like
yeah,
I get like people get all these friends that or they're not actually your friends. They're barely acquaintances. And it's like, what's the point sometimes?
right. Yeah. And
Mm.
then, well, yeah, it's just anyway, but yeah, so that was that. But I'm glad that I kept you.
Me too.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're like BFFs. So
No kidding.
yeah, so you were originally from the Valley, which is how I know you.
Yeah, Mercedes, Texas.
That's right. And so well, just so I don't have to tell the story, why don't you tell the story of how you got introduced to the trail scene, um, how
Okay.
you remember it.
Yeah. So when I was in college as a junior, um, I was running for a UTPA, which was the university you were working at, and I was attending as a student. And then I wasn't enjoying my time on the track team, so then I quit, and I was doing a lot of local races, and I would always see you there, so I'd always kind of just like wave hi. You became a real familiar face, and then pretty soon thereafter, you had put up a post. I don't know how we became Facebook friends. I think I looked for you and friended you. Like, hey, I see her all the time at races, and wanted to kind of get. Um, I guess part of it was I knew you were part of a run club, and I wanted to join more run clubs since I wasn't on the team anymore for the university. And so once I did that, I remember it was like not even that much longer after we became Facebook friends that I saw you post like, "Hey, I'm going on this trip, and it's going to be very scenic, and there'll be free food, free lodging, open invite whoever wants to come, just pitching for gas or whatever." Or I didn't even know if you offered that. I think you offered to pay for gas the whole
Yeah.
time, but I was like, "That sounds fun. Let's do it." Just like super random. We had never even had a conversation before about anything. Just kind of, hey, I know you. Hey, that's it. But yeah, so after that, we drove up to Rock Springs where the race for Tejas Trails called J&J is at. And me and one other guy named Austin joined you. And
The other
we
tall white
volunteered.
guy.
Yeah, that's all I got. We volunteered all night long taking care of an aid station that you were the captain of. And
That was my first time too doing that. It was terrifying.
oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah, because JT he
Wow.
took us up there and then he just dropped us, with all the stuff and then
Yeah.
left. It was sort of like I mean, I've never had kids, but it reminded me of what it must feel like when, you're alone with your child for the first time. You're like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah, I
I got
just
these two
remember,
rookies. Like, what are we doing?
right. I just
guys,
like,
guys jumped right in there, and it was, yeah, it was
yeah,
great.
I felt like it went pretty smooth. Austin had an easier time staying up than I did. Um, oh, one thing I remember is that like I was just so like excited for it. I remember that before we even got to the actual venue, I got off the vehicle and started running. I don't remember if you remember that,
I do
but
remember that.
yeah, like I ran like I think it was 3 miles. There was that 3 mile marker, and I was like, hey, let me run from here. Going into Camp Eagle on that dirt road, and I was already excited from there. And then took a minute to find you guys. I remember running to the what's it called?
Pavilion.
The pavilion, and then going back. And then one of the Camp Eagle staff actually chased me, and they're like, "Hey, don't worry about the pass. Here's your pass." Because they kind of had me going back and forth, so I was running around Camp Eagle trying to find you guys and trying to find someone who knew where I was supposed to be, but I can't even remember how it worked out. I just remember that wasn't that big a deal. They were like just super nice about everything. They're like, yeah, it's all right. Like, don't worry about anything. But yeah, yeah, it was fun.
That was the, yeah. I mean, it was, well, that was the first year for that race too. Because it used to,
Oh, what? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah. But it used to be called Nueces, and then
Okay,
they changed it from that to this
J
new
and
name,
J.
yeah, to honor Joe and Joyce. And
So I remember that meeting when Chris was on the stage and he was saying, "Oh, in honor of the previous owners, we're going to name this race after them." Funny enough, I was talking to Joe today, and because he was looking at the calendar of what races he was going to go to, and he saw that there wasn't 100K anymore or
oh,
a
there's
100
not?
mile. No, the longest distance we offer is 50 double marathon 52. Um, but Joe was like, "Man, PJ, you gotta talk to Chris and tell him that anything that's tied to my name better be 100K or more." Like typical Joe fashion. He's just such a like a good old boy. He's like, if it's named after me, it's got to be tough, and that race is tough.
Oh
Like
God,
the race is crazy tough.
yeah. I think it's the hardest course that for Tejas Trails races. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done many of other people's races, but from what I know about the venues and stuff, I don't think anything's tougher than J&J.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Colorado Bend is pretty hard, um,
Yeah.
but I think this one's even got more rocks and elevation.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all that stuff I love.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys volunteered to stay up all night, and because I was gonna, because I think the way that race worked was they had the 100K. It started at 7 or 8, I can't remember, and we were so excited. We're like, wait, because we were the very first aid station, and I think we were like 6 miles in or something, and
Hmm.
I remember we were just like looking up in the hills and stuff, looking for headlamps and stuff, and getting all
Yeah.
excited. And it's funny because the first guy who came through, because we saw this headlamp and we're like, "Oh, here it comes!" I was David
Joe.
Infante. It was
Oh,
David
I thought it was.
Infante. Yeah, because he had gotten lost. and,
Uh,
and then he's like, "I'm just gonna call it a day." I said, "Are you sure about that?" And he was really good natured. But that's how I met him, and actually interviewed him a few weeks ago. And
that's funny.
yeah. and,
Man.
and then I think I think that might have been the time. I don't know if it was. Anyway, I think we might have had Chris Prairie. You know him, right?
I do. I
Oh,
do.
guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that showed up. And this might have been the second time I did that. I don't know. I can't remember now, but it doesn't matter. But I always give him crap about this because he shows up at the aid station. He's like, "Where's the gummy bears? Where's the protein? Where's the Oreos?" And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Dude, we're like the very first aid station. It's 100K. Do you really need all that yet?"
That's so funny
I
because
was gonna start making a sandwich for him, and then he took off.
yeah, that was like my introduction, not only just to trail running, but like the personalities that
Oh,
exist within the trail running community, which like anyone who's new to like this community, like they see that everyone is just 100% themselves, like it's just
that's
so
me.
funny. No one holds back about anything. No one's shy about anything. So when I first started helping out, then I was just like, oh, like I remember one thing that made me really nervous is that there was a lady who was just like, "Yeah, just put ice on my bra,"
Oh
and I was
God.
like, wait, what? And then she's like, "Yeah, just go for it here." Like, and then she like grabs my hand with the what's it called, the scoop,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like shoves like this big chunk of ice there, and I was just like, "Oh," and she was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it, it's trail running." And I was like, oh, "Okay." And she wasn't the last person to ask me either. There's at least five other ladies who were like,
It
"It's
was
hot,
hot.
dump it." Like, yeah.
It got really hot. I
'Cause at
remember.
that time it was in September. I know now it's
Yeah,
in
that's right. Because it was because I remember the second day, James Torres, you remember him, right? From the Valley. They
yeah,
live
yeah,
out in Seattle now, I think. But he got pulled from the race because he was like projectile vomiting and
whoa.
there was a lot of sad soldiers out there that day because it got really hot and yeah, that wasn't great. But I think I was doing I just came across this video too not long ago. Remember I was doing the push-up challenge
Yeah.
in
Oh my
Howell
gosh.
and Howell
Yeah.
was shooting video of me and
He's so funny. He cracks me up. He's
oh my God, he's hilarious. But I could hear you in the background because somebody starts ringing the cowbell, my cowbell
yeah.
found or bought, and then and you're like,
Yeah.
and then Joel is just like panning away from me and looking over at David, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, man, he's so funny. He
So
cracks me up.
funny.
I can't get enough of hanging out with that guy. It's actually his birthday today, so
Yeah, I noticed. I
oh
was
well,
just
happy
noticing.
birthday. Happy
Happy
birthday to you,
birthday,
man.
Joel. Even though
Love you, buddy.
this probably won't come out till Sunday, but that's okay. We're recording it on your birthday.
We set it on time.
That's right. Your ears are burning for a reason. But yeah, so that was kind of your first taste of that. And I know neither you nor Austin had ever really done any trail races as such before, right?
No, nothing. I've had one. Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually had some trail running experience, but I just didn't know that it was like categorized as its own thing. I just considered like, oh, it's another long run with the team. But yeah, back in Indiana, I used to run for a small D3 when I was a freshman, and we would go to two different local parks. One was called Clifty Falls, and one was called Shade State Park. And both of those, we would put our long runs in and some hard workouts.
Jeez. Yeah, well, but it got in your blood or something. I mean, I know I didn't pay you to keep, but you just kept coming back to it too, right?
It was fun. Like more than the running itself and the scenery and everything, I was just really attracted to the people. Um,
Yes.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the best part really about the trail scene is just the people. It's just like, a lot of my life I've, you try to find your tribe or your group or whatever, and it took me till about 11 years ago till I found it. And then I was like, wow, I'm home. This is fun. But see, like when I was a kid, I grew up in the country, in Ohio, and we would go, play in the woods and stuff like that. So I think that's really what it reminds me of, even though we may not have run, because I did not run when I was a kid, but
Mhm.
they used to make us run around the graveyard at my Catholic school. And of course, I always thought that was ironic. Yeah, I was like, okay, right.
That's funny. When I started like winning races in high school and stuff, everyone was like, "What? Like PJ? What?" Because I like hated exercise, like
Really?
all the way up until like I was like 13 or 14.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah. It was just funny. Like my coaches that were like in elementary, um, they'd be like, "No, no way, not yet, for real." Like PJ, like it was awesome.
Oh my,
Um, yeah, I used to hate running for a long time,
yeah.
but
But then once you figure it out, it's not so bad, So,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
wow. So what was it? So, I mean, obviously the people and the whole laid back scene and, the characters, um, you know, but again, you're living what, 5 hours minimum away from
Oh
these
my
races.
gosh.
I mean, it
Yeah,
took us like 7 hours, I think, to get up to Camp Eagle that time.
can't be well. That was rough. Yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
I
that's
don't think
almost
we made that many stops or anything. We were just
no. I think
straight driving.
I remember we stopped at McDonald's because we were really hungry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I don't know that I took you with me to too many other races, as I recall. It seems like you
No,
just sort of kind of gravitated yourself.
yeah, literally just started running with it. I just had a really good time. So I was telling some of my friends that I was working with at the time, I was like, hey, y'all got to come to this thing. They'll provide meals for us. We get to camp out and hang out. It'll be a good time. And a lot of the friends I was hanging out with, like they were very like task oriented people. They love like keeping their hands busy. So when it came to volunteering, they're like, "Oh, we got it. We're gonna be the best volunteers ever." And I was like, "Heck yeah! Like let's do that." So all of the times we were just trying to help Chris out and JT with as much as we could. And it was awesome. Like they never stopped letting us know how thankful they were, and even Heather and Chrissy too. They would so Chris's wife, Heather is Jonathan's wife.
Right.
And they'd be like, you gave us 2 more days with our husbands. Like they would have been out here another 2 or 3 days doing everything that you guys did. So we're thankful to have that extra time. So, um, you know, uh, it just feels good to be in any type of friendship or relationship where you feel like you can't give enough to that other person and they feel the same. So that's very much how it's always been with everyone I've known at Tejas.
Yeah, it's a good group. It really is. Yeah, and as I recall, you used to do a lot of the course teardown too, right?
That was like what I was not what I intentionally was focused on, but what I enjoyed the most. I don't know if I kind of felt uh, it just felt really nice being the last person out there and clearing everything, just making it sure that it was in as good as condition as when before the race.
Right.
So yeah, typically I would run whatever distance was closest to half marathon, kind of take a break in between, help out here and there, so long as my legs were fine and I could walk around without cramping. And then as soon as it's time to go, I was like, all right, like second run of the day, let's do it. And then just try to knock it out as fast as I could with some of my friends that would come out and help. And
Right.
JT kind of just picking up and dropping off so we could leapfrog different parts of the course.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember some of your friends coming. Oh man, that was interesting. So there was a brief time I recall, I don't know if it was that brief, but there was a time when I think you were working up in Austin or Round Rock, I think, like something like that.
Yeah,
And
so
stayed with Chris for a while.
oh yeah, that was fun. So in 2017, I graduated from the university, and then
What did you
immediately
study?
psychology. Yeah. And then I immediately like, oh man, I forgot I did this. So I moved the same week as a Captain Carl's race, and I had my whole car packed with everything that I had, like all my stuff, and tore down like I went to Chris's house just to drop off some of that stuff, and then didn't even spend the night there or anything, like just a couple hours there. And I was like, hey Chris, I'm gonna leave to go help Brad out with his race, and then I'll be back on Monday. So I like drove up to Austin, dumped myself off at Chris's house, went to help out at Captain Carl's at Reveille Peak, and then Monday was back and then started my job. But my interview was that Wednesday before. So yeah, graduated, had an interview on Wednesday, was moving to Austin, but in between that helped out with full teardown of the event. Dang, that was crazy. I just like thinking about it. Oh, like,
I forgot about all that. I just remember you moved in with Chris for a little while. So yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks later, I moved into my own apartment and stuff after I got paid from. I was working at a clinic for kids with autism or kids on the spectrum, and I did that for like 3 years, kind of like 5, I guess, or 4.5, something like that. But 3 years in Austin, and then like a year and a half in the Valley, and then I moved back to Austin.
Right, right. So, okay, I thought we were going to get photobombed by a cat, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm on the couch. I'm like, "Arr." So what was I going to ask you? Oh, okay. So I know that as you got deeper into this, helping Chris and volunteering and all that sort of thing, you got to drive the big boy trucks and stuff like that, right?
Big Ugly. Yeah, that's what we called her, Big Ugly.
Yeah, no, what do they call it?
Yeah, Big Ugly.
Big Ugly. Yeah, right. I knew there's a name.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you had like a little situation, as I recall, up at, well, Bandera, as we call it, or was it Cactus? I don't know.
There's a situation literally every race, so I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Like we have, like, it's crazy. People always like say like, "Man, your races are so well put together," yada yada yada. But a lot of the time, it's like they also don't see how many problems we take care of too. So it's like, I don't know. Someone ran the world record for the 400, but they had to do it while fighting a crowd and jumping over hurdles and kicking a raccoon out of the way. Like there's just like so many things. Like it's so hard to put on a race, and then all these like surprise things just come at you.
Yeah, that's got to be really challenging. Yeah, because I mean, being behind the scenes, as a volunteer, I mean, I've seen some, weird stuff and whatnot. I seem to recall, I don't know if it was last year or the year before at J&J, there's some guy who had never run more than a 5K. You remember this guy?
I do. I do.
And claimed that
Yeah.
he won, and I guess Chris had to be the dream killer on that one, but
No. Well, so was it the guy who was kind of saying some silly stuff about him? He only did it because of the girl he was
oh
trying to
right,
get to do
yes,
5K.
yes.
Okay, so if it's that guy, yes, that was like a particularly odd happening. Um, Turns out, like I was like, where have I seen this guy? But I used to work with him at a gym. Um, and so like he was known for just like making up lies and stuff, and he ended up becoming a manager, but then it just like he got super exposed in that position because he wasn't doing it right. But anyway, he was cutting course and stuff, and a couple of people that were in the race were just bringing it to our attention, like, hey, like he's running backwards on the course, and he's like literally going off course, saying that he's knowing what he's doing, and supposedly dropping 7 minute miles at like mile 50 plus, like just super like all these red flags coming up, and then Kyle's just so good with his pacing charts. He was like, "This doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah,
sorry, but unless you can prove it, like with Strava or with a GPS watch,
which he
then
didn't have.
he didn't
They
have
never
either
do.
of those. So they never do, and it's kind of like, man, it's like not that we're trying to say that you're this or that, but it's just like if you prove it, great. If you can't, then there's always next year. Just try again. And if you train as hard as you did this year, then you'll have the same result next year. But yeah, that was like, I think it was it Dina and Nancy. There's maybe like two other people that were like, yeah, like I was shouting at him and he just wouldn't go the right way. So I don't know.
Yeah, it happens.
Always something. Always something.
I know. I mean, and yeah, and I mean, some of the smaller races, it's hard to have enough people out there to kind of what do they call, like course marshal or whatever. Like for Bandera, I know that Chris Russell usually is out there being the course marshal for that one certain, I think it's that lollipop loop or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sky Island.
I've seen people cheat on that before.
Oh man. So yeah, this
I
year we
mean,
had
you're not going to
James.
win, so I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But just like, hey, just so you know, this is what happens. You're not officially a finisher. You know, you're not doing everything that everyone else is. So
You're not
it's
doing
not
the course. Yeah. I also
exactly.
remember Brad saying that. Yeah. So that yeah. So at what point there you are, you're working, in the field that you studied for, and meanwhile you're, helping out at these races and stuff. then you get presented with an opportunity. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, so
Brad,
right, it was Brad,
Rivian.
Brad Quinn. So I think it was like in the middle of COVID, or yeah, actually it was because
Yeah,
the trail running festival had gotten moved to September,
that's right.
and it was in the middle of COVID, and that's why it got moved because we weren't allowed to have it. So I went to go volunteer at the festival, and then Brad kind of pulled me aside, and we were like inside the trailer, and we were just chatting. And he's like, "Hey, so like, what do you want to do in life?" And I was just
I could hear him say
like,
that.
what do you mean? He's like, "Well, yeah, like, what are your the 5 year plan?" I was just like, I mean, ideally, I want to keep furthering myself, like with my education, and um, be able to develop treatment programs for kids on the spectrum and kids with disabilities, and help them kind of just be able to live life independently. You know,
Mhm.
um, he's like, "Oh well, have you ever thought about taking on becoming a race director and doing that as a career? Like I do that. When I also work as a occupational therapist on my free time. I make my own schedule and I do this on the side and provide for a family of six. Live pretty comfortably. Um, so it's something to think about. And he was like, I'm not one to sell. I don't want to sell at all. But if you wanted to buy, I think you'd be the right person. And so, like, I don't even think I hesitated. I was like, heck yeah, like, that sounds great. But it's just like, how do I do it?
How do I
I
do
was like,
this?
this is so much fun. Yeah, I was like, so I was working as a registered behavior technician, and that you don't typically earn that much. Like, and then the way with most behavioral clinics, the way they operate, you don't necessarily have the hours to work full time. So I was kind of like back and forth with it. I was only really doing it because of why I wanted to move forward. It wasn't like financially wasn't like great of a job, but again, I wasn't doing that because I really enjoyed working with kids and I really enjoyed making a difference for them and hopefully getting them to a point where they didn't need all this extra help. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's where I was at, and then once Brad threw that offer at me, we started going back and forth on how to work and make it happen. Up until the point now where it's 100% mine. So I have Spider Mountain, the four Captain Carls, and then Trivium. So those are all my events.
That's so cool. I'm gonna come out to Spider Mountain this time. I've never been, so
Man, that one's a blast.
it looks
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that'll be fun. So um obviously you had to come up with and the reason that Brad was selling his portion of the business is because he was moving back up to Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, he really wanted to spend more time with like his parents who were
Mhm.
still in Wisconsin. So um, I think it would have been like he could have, if he really wanted to, he could, spend summers down here or fly every week or whatever. But um, I think he's just really wanting to focus on the time he has left with his parents. I think his parents are in their 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, um, I love that he's doing that because I mean, I love my parents. Like, and I would hate to get to a time where I don't have them around anymore, and then I'm stuck left like with that feeling of like, oh, I should have spent more time with them, right? Like, I I don't think we're like all of us, like everyone in life. Definitely, you got loved ones that you wish you could have had more time with, but there's gonna be a time that you get to where you don't have the option anymore,
Mhm.
right? So I think he's doing a really awesome thing by choosing that life and spending time at home. I know he's super happy. I've got to meet his parents a couple times. They're super sweet. Like it's so weird, like because Brad is my dad's age. Like they're
Oh
born
wow.
the same,
Okay.
born
Yeah.
the same year and everything. And it's so weird because I don't like he's their baby. You don't think of a 50-year-old man, 52-year-old man or whatever as a baby.
Right.
But just seeing them is like, hey, make sure you do this, Brad. Okay, well, be safe, Brad. Did you listen? Like, like I can't. But like seeing them in person and just like how sweet they are and how like I don't know, it just makes sense that Brad is as caring as he is because his
Oh
parents are
yeah.
just the same way.
I think it's kind of a Midwest sort of.
Oh yeah, yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, yeah. So so you had to come up with some money though. I mean, this isn't like, oh hey, sure, I'm not gonna ask you how much you had to take out, but I mean you had to get a loan or something. Am I right about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a lot of work. I mean, I just pretty much pinched my pennies as much as I could, and like I was working a couple different jobs, all at the same time. Like, yeah, it was nonstop work
You
for a
don't
while. Like
sleep
I
a
was
lot. Yeah.
funny. So I mean, it's nothing that I haven't been used to. Like I've been working since I was like 16 or 17, um, and kind of haven't ever stopped. Like all throughout college, I was working at least two jobs, and uh, there's only like a handful of weeks since I was 17 that I've only had one job. I've always had like two or three. Like,
Really? Wow.
it's just,
That's
yeah, funny
amazing.
enough. Yeah. But mainly because I'm like, oh well, like I want to do all these things, and I mean, I've gotten way better at like learning how to appropriate my time, like what tasks best deserve my time to make life just easier on myself. Um, but yeah, I was just working my ass off. I was like, I literally doing like odd jobs too. Like aside, I was working for Chris. I was timing for Kyle. I was working at a gym, and then I was doing some odd jobs on the side. And then I was also um, I had started working for a real estate agency where I was going and I was surveying homes for them, just making sure that the projects were being done on time. So I would go and take photos and make sure that
Wow.
there weren't any chips in the foundation or anything like that. Like I was just literally working 4 or 5 jobs to make it happen.
That's crazy. I did not know all that. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It
I know
was
you're
wild.
hardworking, but Lord.
Yeah, I just really wanted it and I wanted to make it happen on time. And the time frame that Brad wanted was not realistic for me to make happen with just one job.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, just got to work harder, figure out more ways to do it. So that was, I don't think it was the best answer. I'm pretty sure I could have tried to figure something else out, but I was like, this is a answer, and this is something I can start working on right now. So I'm just start doing it, and slowly kept me on pace to do it. And then I did have a couple of friends, and well, no, actually, I don't think I borrowed. No, I didn't borrow anything from family, but that was like something I was like really close to leaning on. But I had some friends that were that came to me and said, "Hey, like I know this is your goal. I'm happy to invest," and just super thankful for them.
That's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, okay. So tell me about I mean, because it's funny. I can remember, this is so funny. I was taking Jessica up to Trivium. I think it was like
Mm-hmm.
a year ago, November. And it was the first time she ever volunteered. And I was telling her about you and all this, and and I was like, yeah, and he's gonna be a race director. Da, 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 da. And she's like, I'd like to be a race director. And I'm just like,
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
I was like, and then by the end of the trip, she's like, oh no, I don't think I could be a race director. So
Yeah,
why don't you, yeah, detail and again, you were 29.
yeah. I'm 29 right now.
Yeah, so you're a young guy. Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. So tell us
Yeah,
a little bit, because I think a lot of times people don't really understand what a race director does. And it's definitely more than just showing up and throwing,
sure.
putting up some, flags in a, timing mat or something, So
Yeah. So so you just in general want what a race director does? Is that what you're
yeah, or
asking?
I guess what was surprising that you didn't expect or that you didn't, realize was part of the, because I know that, like, for instance, like a race like Um, Bandera, you guys, it takes a good week, if not more, to get that whole
Oh,
thing squared
it
away.
is crazy how much like man hours goes into it. But what I will say is that like 1000%, like super thankful to anyone who decides to volunteer for our races because like they wouldn't happen. They would not. I think you really need to have Howell. I like not just because it's his birthday today, but man, he has so much insight, especially on our side of things, because he did help me pull off one event where it was just me, him, and one other person.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was so hectic. We had zero volunteers show up, and it was like I don't think anyone noticed that it was like not that well supported because they felt like it was well supported, but on our side of things, like behind the curtain, it was like not. It was just a lot of work.
Was that the Trailway
Um,
one?
yeah. So, um, in general, yeah, I'm just super thankful for everyone who decides to come out and volunteer because it really makes like these events just so much smoother and not only that, but like enjoyable for all of us. Like I didn't necessarily enjoy Trailway because I was always like worried that someone was going to get to an aid station and be like,
Nobody
no
there.
one's here to support me. No one even cares that I'm doing this race. What's up with this organization? Blah blah blah. But from what I know, no one felt that way. But I was worried that I don't know. I just take things to heart. Like when, like I don't know. Like I've talked to this, like had conversations with people about this, about having like a certain expectation for myself when I'm handling the race, and like in general, like no matter what you do, you can't please everyone. Like you can't.
Mhm.
And it's very unrealistic to have this expectation of pleasing everyone. Um, but sorry, I have this stupid alarm going on. But there's nothing like in my head. It's like, what's wrong with having that expectation anyway? Like a lot of people try to do 100 milers, regardless if they're capable or not, and say, "Hey, I'm going to try to do this 100 miler," and maybe you don't get there, but having it the goal is going to put you at a pretty good spot. Like maybe you were only physically really capable of doing 40 miles, but you went out and did 45
Mhm.
because you had the goal of 100. Like that is amazing. Like that's you went what is it, whatever that extra 5 more miles, and you got to see that part of yourself. So in my head, I'm like, I want literally, if we have 450 people sign up, I want 450 people to say, like, man, that was the best experience I've ever had. I felt so supported. I felt so loved. I felt like all these things that encompass what we try to deliver. And so, in order to make that happen, you need volunteers.
Mhm.
Like you can't do it without volunteers. So you just can't. Like anyone who says they can is just putting on a race that only has 10 people or they're lying. Like, like there's just, you can't satisfy that many people by yourself. It's a good goal to have, but not realistic without volunteers. And mainly because there's so much work that needs to happen. And if you're really showing that you care about people, you personalize things, right? Like if I give, I don't know, if I have 10 people come up to an aid station, I'm like, here, I'm giving you all salt pills for one that's gonna make someone cramp, that's gonna jack up someone's stomach, that's gonna help one person, maybe three, but like if you're trying to do the same thing for every single person, it's not good, right? Versus you having four volunteers there and they each take care of two people and they find out exactly what they need. Like, oh, this person needs salt, this person needs tailwind, this person needs more sugar, this person like yeah, Coke, whatever, and you just can't give that kind of love and compassion and consideration. Like you can't be thoughtful that at that level unless you have other people to help you out. So
Right. Yeah.
um and it's like those are all the things that me and Chris think about, like what can we do to make this experience something that someone's going to want to have again and again for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
So um and that go like that's what makes it so difficult. Just the standard, right? Um, if you're thinking like that for every little thing from course markings to facilities to the food we provide um, to the medals we design, right? Like it's a hard standard to live up to. So
Yeah.
I guess that's what makes it exhausting and a challenge.
Yeah, no, but you guys do a great job of it too. And yeah, I mean, as a volunteer, I think it's important that the volunteers, because especially on the longer distance races, they start trying to do some of the thinking for the runner because a lot of times they don't even know what they want, and so
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just gonna be like, have you had salt lately, or you want a shot of Coke,
Right.
and then they're like, and they do, and then they're like, they put it back out again. I'm like, see,
Yeah, yeah. Man, that one's always surprised me. Like,
I love that. I feel like a bartender.
yeah, that's fine. Like, I mean, I love soda, but I can't stand it on a run.
Oh no, see, I have to have it. Isn't that funny?
Really, like that's. I mean, that's like a what's it called? A vice, like for me. Like I drink. I probably drink way too much soda, but like during a race, during a run, I can't really have anything other than tailwind or water.
Yeah, well, that's probably better for you. But yeah, see, I don't
Yeah,
really drink
maybe.
soda, so that I guess I just use that as a little treat. I like the bubbles and the caffeine and the sugar.
Yeah, the carbonation. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so you had that one situation then where I mean, and Trailway was kind of a smaller race too, thank God, right?
Yeah, it was probably 200 people.
Yeah, I mean it's still a lot, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, I know that sometimes you have to be there, through thick and thin. And I remember, I think it was last summer. It was, uh, maybe it was for J&J last year. I don't know. You were driving the you were taking the trailer and it broke down.
oh, yeah. It actually, that's happened to me a total of 3 times.
So I only know about one.
So yeah, I think you're talking. Are you talking about the one where we had to move Bandera to Camp Eagle?
Okay, yeah, there was that one. Yes. And well, you had one too where you got stuck outside of San Antonio.
That was it.
That was it. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So what was
God,
it,
that was
Hollywood
that's
Park or
right. That's
something?
right. Yeah, that was oh, it's just such a yeah, that was it was not much fun.
Yeah. So man, I love telling this one because it was just like one thing after another going wrong. So for those who don't know or haven't told the story too, I had just got back from getting a Chris had bought a new trailer to fit everything that we need for our races, and I drove all the way to Wisconsin and then back, and then like a day after I got back, started driving the older trailer to Bandera. And as I was going, I took off late in the day, probably around like 2 or 3, and so I was in San Antonio because like there was heavy traffic. I was on the north side of San Antonio by like 5 or 6, and around Hollywood Park, got a flat. And so Chris is like super well prepared. He has like 2 big industrial jacks, and then he has like another regular one, but it's like heavy duty. And so I was trying to lift up the trailer, and uh, have you know the tent poles that we use for our tents, right? They're like
Yeah, yeah.
probably about 5 feet tall. Um, Well, I was trying to use that to get more leverage to lift up. So like a regular jack pole is probably what, like 2 feet. So then that paired along with a 5 foot pole, I was trying to jack it up. And, I was like this close to getting the tire off the ground, but I couldn't do it. So then I brought out one of the industrial jacks, and I lifted up just a little bit, and it still wasn't enough. So then I pulled out the third jack, and mind you, probably 2 hours have gone by me just trying to do this stupid thing, and then
Did anyone try to
I
stop and help you?
No. No. Yeah, like, and I was going down. Well, part of it is too that I wasn't really in a safe spot. I had saw the tire blow up right when it happened, and I was trying to take the exit, but I didn't make it all the way, so I don't want to drive on the rim.
Mhm.
And so I was on the ramp, like getting off the ramp,
Oh
but
yeah.
just to the side of it, um, on the shoulder. And so I and so it was probably like around 7 this at this time when I try to implement the third jack. And so it's like already getting dark. I I'm really going for it on this third jack, and then one of the piston or the pins that lock the jack to like bump it up breaks, and like I had my entire weight, like I was like leaning over on it, and I break the jack, and then the trailer sinks a little bit. The jack, like I fall over onto the ground. The jack falls on the top of my ankle and like kind of like makes my ankle swell up.
Oh my God.
Like, and I was lying on the floor, Donna, like a kid throwing a tantrum. He's not getting the cereal at the store. I was like, ah! like on the floor, just like so mad because I was trying with like all the effort I had, and it just hurt myself and was like frustrated. So then I go to the driver's seat of the Ram, and I started watching the video on YouTube on like what I could do, maybe like reposition the whole trailer. And
What do we do with
um,
that? Yeah.
yeah, I was exhausted. Like I could not keep my eyes open. So like I was standing up and leaning into the truck. Like I wasn't even sitting inside of it. And I fell asleep like standing up. Like half my body's inside the truck, my other half is standing outside.
Oh
And
no.
then uh I didn't know it, but it was like 3 in the morning, and a cop came by, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? You okay? You all right? Like, what's going on?" And I guess he thought I was on drugs or something because it was just awkward. I was like, "Hey, sorry, I fell asleep. This is the issue I have." Blah blah blah. But anyway, long story short, I was able to get it up with a little bit of his help. Went to Discount Tire at like 7 a.m. And then at 7:30, I get a call from Chris, who was in Hawaii at the
That's
time.
right.
And then
First
he's because
best.
for his anniversary, yeah, celebrating his anniversary with Chrissy, and he's like, uh, the race just got canceled. I gotta figure out if we can do it at Camp Eagle or not. I'll call you back in 5 minutes.
Oh Jesus.
So in those 5 minutes, I literally called like 20 people. I was like, hey, just so you know, get ready to go to Bandera. I mean, get ready to go to Camp Eagle. Don't know if we're gonna have it yet, but I'll send you a text here in a bit. And then Chris calls me 5 minutes later. He's like, hey, start calling people. The Camp Eagle is good to have the race, so let's go ahead and
Thank
um,
God for that.
move it. Yeah. Meanwhile, you were setting up with the race in Bandera, course marking, and then well, you have your own side to that,
Oh
but
yeah. Yeah, no, I'm out there with Henry and I forget who else. But yeah, we were out there and they had been marking all the day before and we're out there, marking the course. It's a Wednesday, and then we get the call that yeah, the park superintendent or whatever that guy, I don't know what his title is, but the dude in
yeah.
charge that there might be some rain, and so we had to pull the race from there, and then thank God we could move it someplace else, but so then we had to go out and take down all the stuff we had marked.
Yeah, I was so thankful because, like, again, like, let's just say that we didn't have any volunteers for this race, the race would have been canceled.
Yeah.
Like, if we didn't have any volunteers show up to help out, when we moved it to Camp Eagle, for one, shout out to Camp Eagle because they
They're the
like they were
best.
on it. As soon as I got there, they had like 5 staff members. They're like, "All right, what can we do?" And we started getting to work right away. I was like, "This goes there, that goes there. Like, you come with me. Let's go do this." Blah blah blah. But yeah, we literally set up that course in like 21 hours,
Yeah,
like
that was
nonstop.
crazy.
Like as soon as I got there, we didn't stop. Like it was crazy.
Well, just the fact that, and it's not like that race is normally, held out at this place, and so you have to figure out your distances, and
Yeah.
that's a big race, Cactus Rose.
Well, this one was for Camp Eagle, but it's even it's even crazier than it was for Camp Eagle. Oh well, Cactus Rose too, but
Yeah.
this specific time where the trailer broke down was for Cactus
Oh, okay,
Rose
got
or
it.
Camp Eagle. Sorry, Camp Eagle. Bandera, Band Eagle.
Band Eagle, that's right. I also remember that one
Yeah,
too. Yeah. Oh, God.
yeah. So they both got moved that year, but the one where the trailer broke down was for Bandera.
Yeah. Yeah. Or no,
Yeah, and that was
Cactus.
wild.
Cactus. Pretty sure it
Hmm?
was. I think it was Cactus.
No, because I went to go get the trailer after that.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah.
It all starts blending together.
Oh, it does. I know. But yeah, it was just insane. Um,
And but yeah, so I mean the other thing too, and this always, impresses me, and I know Chris has gotten a lot better about it, is just like that trailer is incredibly well organized. I mean, you guys have totes and it's not like stuff is random, although I have to say, and it's no one's fault, it's just whenever I do an aid station, I spend usually the first half of my shift trying to figure out where everything is because it's like, where's the bread? Okay, I can't remember which which tote is it.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I've been trying to do, and I just haven't gotten to it yet, is just making a full-on list and taping it onto those totes just to help people. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just making time for that. See, like it's just all right. What's the next thing we can do? What's that next level? That's that next standard where we could
Yeah.
help
I mean, it's not a big deal,
everyone.
but it's just, yeah, it's just
But
funny.
it would make all the difference, right? Like if you're having a runner wait on you and they're like, "Hey, I need
Pickle juice.
a tampon or something," like
Yeah.
something random that you like, are like, "Oh yeah, it's in the tote with all the dry goods, right? Like
Or
all the paper towels and
you
stuff."
can't find a first aid kit, or there's just like
Right,
minimal
right.
band-aids.
Yeah, whatever the reason is, but
Yeah.
it's like waiting 3 minutes versus 30 seconds is all the difference. Like especially as someone's morale. Like
Mhm.
if they're on the downcline, they're like getting discouraged, and then you give them an opportunity to sink and wait in that like discouraged feeling, then
It might
like
drop.
it's demoralizing. Yeah, so it's like you don't want to give people time to down spiral.
Right.
So
No, it's, yeah. But yeah, if you ever need help with that, let me know. I can help you with that. 'Cause
with what specifically?
just like labeling those totes or whatever, like what's,
Oh yeah, no, I'm just gonna print out sheets for it, right? Just
yeah.
repeat sheets, but
Well, I think
yeah,
also it helps with cleanup too. So that way, because like you've got all the dirty knives. I mean, even though, we're wiping them down with those Clorox
Clorox
wipes.
wipes.
Yeah, I mean, you're always trying to stay tidy, but at the end you have to have one tote that's got like all your dirty dishes in it or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, we always end up washing everything. Like
yeah,
we don't trust anything.
I
Like
would.
there have been so many times where people wipe and actually do an awesome job of getting everything cleaned up, but we
No,
just
you
can't
got it.
trust it. Yeah, you have to soap and bleach everything.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea. Excuse me. So anyway, so a typical race, let's just say, let's not talk about Rocky because I know Rocky and Bandera, those are a little different. But let's just say like a J&J race. How long does it take you guys to set up the whole? I mean, are you there from Monday through Friday, or do you go out midweek, or how does that work?
Typically like 4 days. That one's a pretty big loop. So
Yeah.
I want to say about 25, 28 hours to set up the course itself. And then maybe another 10 to 15 of you okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink of water. Keep talking. I'm listening.
All right. Um,
Oh, geez.
yeah, so another 10 to 15 of setting up aid stations and stuff. Um, yeah, so all in all, probably somewhere between 45, 50 hours
Damn.
um, to do everything. So yeah, those days are long, but then the only reason they're long is because like we're trying to get everything dialed in really well.
Okay. There's an intercom thing going on.
Yeah, it's just one of the walkies since
It's
I'm in the
okay.
office.
I start coughing. We've got the all right, what was I going to ask you? Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of time, and it's not like you guys are staying in the lap of luxury either. Okay, you guys are kind of like sleeping in the trailer and stuff, or how does that work?
Funny enough, that J&J is like the most rugged race that we have, but it's also the one where we have like really nice
That's
accommodations for ourselves. Yeah, it's like we have like a suite to ourselves. It's just super nice. It's like a hotel, like a really nice
yeah.
personalized hotel. It's funny. So for Bandera, just um, I mean, I don't know anyone that prepares like Chris. Like he just has everything dialed in so insanely well. He has like if I were to have like 4 layers to a thought, Chris has like 16.
Oh, wow.
Like yeah, he just prepares so well. So the day before we went out to Bandera, so Monday before Bandera, we were at Camp Eagle and we were just making sure that the course was going to be good just in case we had to move it there. So he was scouting out stuff, and at the end of the day, I met him at one of the places we stayed, and it was really cool because he took down a portrait. He was like, "Check this out, man! Like I was in this, but they cut me out. I was supposed to be right here." But it's just funny, like those units that they have are just very personalized. They have a lot of history of Camp Eagle and stuff, and portraits or whatever.
Yeah, and he worked there for a long time, so yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, like Mellow, Pace Bend State Park, I sleep in the
Yeah.
trailer. For a
I'm
lot of
amazed.
these races, I'll just sleep in the trailer. I just put out the cot,
What do you
and
do at
then
Rocky? Do you guys have it? Because I know there's that lodge, but I don't really think there's any place to sleep in there, right?
no, no, there isn't. Sometimes I'll just pull up the cot. There, like he has a camper that'll bring, so we'll spend some time in there.
Okay.
But if that's not accessible or his family's there or whatever, then I'll head over to the lodge and just stay on a cot.
Okay. That's not
Yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
no, I mean I could care less. Like me personally, I've fallen asleep on the trail, like using a rock for a pillow, and I'm not even kidding. Like I just prop up my hand, like all right, time to get some rest.
That's
Like
what I was
it's
going to do that first time at Camp Eagle when we were doing J&J because I think I left you guys like around 1 o'clock in the morning or something or 11 p.m. I don't know. It was late. It was
yeah,
I had my sleeping bag and my pillow, and I was gonna go try to find the dorms or whatever, And of course, Camp Eagle in the dark,
oh
everything
yeah,
looks alike, and it's incredibly, Byzantine, and you're like, I don't know where I'm at. And I got to the point where I was so tired and so frustrated because I couldn't figure out where to go that I was literally gonna lie on the side of the road, with my head on my pillow and throw my sleeping bag over me, sleep on the side of the road until morning until I could figure out where I was supposed to be. But then the great thing is I saw this truck coming. And so I was like, okay, I don't care who it is. I'm just going to ask them if they can give me a ride, back.
uh-huh.
And so who's inside the truck? Mario Rodriguez and Robert Ruiz
Ah, really,
up to volunteer. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I found you
your
guys.
people, and that's funny.
I know that was such a crazy time, but
Mhm.
anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I was gonna car camp actually, incidentally, next weekend for Rocky, but I was looking at those temperatures and it's looking kind of cold, so I
Oh
gotta
yeah, I haven't, man. I so sometimes like the only time I'll pay attention to the weather is for Bandera.
yeah,
But any other race, it's like regardless of what the temperature is, we still got to do what we still got to do. So it's just like
right. But it seems like Rocky,
whatever.
I don't think it's gonna be really super cold this time. I mean, it seems like well, because I've been out there for the second weekend the last 2 years. It was remember the well, I guess it'll be 3 years ago. Yeah, we had the freeze coming in,
Oh my gosh.
and then
Yeah.
last year,
I literally almost died like 13 times.
oh, that was miserable. Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, I think as I recall, I think uh Chris and JT, I think they had to leave the trailer behind and just come back and get it later in the week because they just needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was with them. We all left at the same time and they're like, um, everything's good where it's at. The park said it's good for us to come back later in the week for it. The weather's not going to get better until like Thursday or Friday. So that's more to come back for it.
Next
You
month.
should go. Yeah, they're like, you should go home. We're going home, so there's no point for you staying here. And then yeah, we all left the park. And I remember we left pretty late. Like everyone, they got home around midnight, and I got home a little thereafter. But yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, I know that was cold. That was awful. Yeah. Well, and then last year, it was my birthday, as you recall, and it got progressively colder as the day went on. I was like,
Yeah, the second weekend was really nice. It was crazy. It got really nice during the day, but
yeah,
the first weekend was pretty miserable. I don't know if maybe do you know Penny Lane?
first, yeah.
Okay, and you know Richard in January?
Yes. I don't know Richard, but
Okay.
I do know January. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did they actually won
That's
your
right.
award. So um yeah, it was so cold that I literally lit my jacket on fire
I
and I didn't
remember this.
notice. I didn't notice because I was still so cold. like, they, Penny was like, "Oh crap, dude!" and she's like smacking my shoulder. And then Richard, he was on the other side of the tent. He's like running towards me and just smacked my arm. And I was like, "What's going on?" And then like I look and it's like all melted.
That's
But yeah,
hilarious.
I literally on fire and I still was cold.
Oh, yeah. Ugh. Yeah, but I think I think
Yeah,
I think you're going to be okay this time around. It
I
looks
think so.
yeah, it looks like it's just going down to around 40, but I was just like,
Oh really?
yeah, I don't want to.
That's
I know
that's
that's like
nice.
balmy, but I got a hotel, a cheap hotel.
Uh,
I was like, because I'm a little well, I figure if I'm going to be standing out in that stuff all day, the next, the
yeah.
following day, I may as well be comfortable the night before. I'm a princess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
but
good,
what was I going to
good to
mention?
take care of yourself.
Well, I mean, I can't sleep in my car. It doesn't bother me that much. And actually, I figured out the key in the summer is I got this little fan that's like a USB
I
powered.
remember you telling me that. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
thing is
nice.
like, and it's nice because it's got like white noise, and I can sleep. I mean, because normally I'm like tossing and turning, and yeah, everything. But
Yeah.
um, what else was I going to ask you about? Oh my God! So so what are some of the crazier things that have happened to you that you just never would have dreamed if you could have told yourself, a couple of years ago that this would be happening to you?
Um, I think. Well, I don't know. It just depends on the kind of crazy you're thinking of. So when you first say crazy, I automatically think about emergencies,
Yeah.
right? There have been a couple of times where people have had rhabdo, or times where people got lost. There have been times where we had copters like looking after people, like trying
Oh,
to
I
find
remember that.
someone.
Is that like a summer
Um,
race?
both times were one was in the summer, one was like on the like cusp of the fall for Mellow, which is just this past year, and that was crazy. There was like 40 people looking for one person,
Oh my
and I
God.
was riding my bike all over the park, like and communicating with the firefighters and stuff. And I was just like, "Hey, I've already been to these parts. Like, this is where we're looking. It's where he was last seen. Blah blah blah." He ended up being at the finish line. And he was fine, but it's just like the things that people report, like, yeah, he was blue and he was not responsive at all and
Oh
he
my
wasn't
God.
moving. Like, it's like the stories people tell are just so exaggerated, but you can't not trust it. You have to figure it out and make sure. Uh, but the guy who was like in question, he spoke to the firefighters while he was still on the trail, and he was like, "Uh, I haven't heard of anyone like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's further back, but he was like lying. He was just straight up like he was having a hard time, and then just went back and was like, "Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like I'm okay, but I didn't need help at the time." And we thought that he was, lying dead somewhere, so we had to go find him.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, scenarios like that have been kind of crazy. There was one other time I remember driving up to help Brad with one of his races, and I got there probably like midnight, and like within 5 minutes of being there, one of the state park staff they came and they're like, "Hey, there's someone lost on course. We have someone who just reported it." And that person, the person who came, he was like, "Hey, I just saw this person on course. He's like X amount of miles back. Um, you need to go get him. He's like very discolored, super dehydrated. He's not even sweating anymore. And I know because I'm a medic, I work as an EMT. And so my first thought was like, what, the way you just
Why didn't
abandoned
you?
someone like that? Like, yeah, I was like, what? Why wouldn't you help him, right?
You like
Like,
MacGyver it or something? Yeah.
so then Brad was like, "Are you good to go?" And I was like, "Just let me put on my running shoes. I'll go." And so I ran probably like 6 miles of trail looking for this person, and then had a walkie on me, so I was able to communicate with the park staff. And then we had some local or some state troopers that had heard the call, so they came to help out too. And then the superintendent, he was like, "All right, like I don't think we have a choice. Let's call the choppers to start looking." And then his friends, that guy's friends, were like, "Hey, are you guys looking for a number or whatever?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Can we go help? Can we help you find him?" And so like there was a big team of us looking for him, and I was helping carry like a stretcher. And then maybe like this whole dilemma was like 3 hours long.
Oh my
So then we
God.
finally get a call from Brad. I think it was Brad, and he was like, "Hey, he's here at the finish line. He's been walking on the street. He stepped off the course because he could hear the cars and he wanted to walk on the street versus the trail. But he's here. He's fine. He's not showing any symptoms of like dehydration or anything. He's being well taken care of. Blah blah blah." And then we were like, "Oh, like thank God!" Like like it's all
Oh,
good. Like it was all this high level stress, but not for much of
I mean,
anything.
thank goodness. Yeah, it ended well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, we have it pretty dialed in to where we could find anyone, and if we don't, like, we call it like chasing ghosts, like when we're looking for someone who's not even on the course anymore. But um, every time we've had to find someone, if they're on the course, we find them,
oh, good.
or like,
Good.
or I mean, if they're in on the venue, pretty much. Yeah, and we use every bit of trail for most of the venues. I don't think there's a single venue we use where we don't
Hmm.
have trail we're using, and if it is, it's like not much.
Right.
So
Well, that's good.
yeah. Yeah, that's like the craziest thing.
Yeah, no, and I think it's also that is a good point about getting the person's bib number, because I know at Brazos this year, there's a guy, because it got really hot, and there's a guy, he was really struggling, and he's like, I'm gonna need some help. And I'm like, well, stay put. I'm going to go run up to the aid station and I'll tell them there. I mean, I had a description of him and everything, and I knew, and he was standing by this particular sign, but I didn't think to get his bib number. So, and I mean, eventually they found him, and, he was all right, but, they he DNF'd, but yeah, that's a very good tip for those of you who want to help. Make sure you get somebody's bib number. So,
Yeah. Two other times I'll share real quick. And they were really crazy. Like even just watching it was kind of wild to see how serendipitous the moment was. But there's one time I met this lady from McAllen. Funny
hey.
enough, she hadn't lived in McAllen for like 30 years, but she was like, "Yeah, I'm from McAllen. I grew up there." Blah blah blah. She was doing Hell's Hills 50 mile, and eh, probably like 30 miles into the race, she was like, "Yeah, like I get hurts right here. I don't know if I should go on. Like my legs are fine. I just don't know. Like I'm scared. Like I haven't had part problems, but like it runs in my family. Blah blah blah." And then the very next guy to come up, he was like, "Hey, like how's your race going? Like, we keep passing each other. Blah blah blah." She's like, "I don't know. I think I'm gonna drop. I'm just scared. Like I'm having like it feels like an irregular heartbeat." And the guy was like, "Oh, well, I'm a cardiologist. Let me check you out, and I'll let you know if you can go." And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Like, let's run the rest together. That way, if anything happens, I'll take care of you." And so they keep going, and they finish the race together.
Oh, that's
And that
cool.
was super cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, the other one, and so you've had Joe Schmo on your podcast, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I really want to hear this because this is just what I saw, but I don't know, like, this is 100% of what happened. But when he finished his race, there was for Cactus Rose 100, just kills the course, like absolute beast. Um, there's another person who sorry, yeah, the other person was running the 50 mile and they both finished at the same time. But a mile before Joe Schmall ran or finished his last mile, he like poked his eye on a branch and he was like bleeding and stuff.
Oh,
And then the guy who finished next to him, he was like, "Oh, like, do you mind if I check you out?" He was what's it called? He's an eye doctor. What
oh
do you
yeah,
call
yeah.
it? Yeah,
Ophthalmologist. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, optimal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Optometrist. Yeah. And I was just like, what the heck? That's crazy. Like, when does that ever happen? It's like, especially like the difference between a 50 mile and a 100 mile, like, it was just
That's
wild.
incredible. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll have to ask
And
him
then
about
a couple of my favorite things to see, though, too. And I've always thought this, but I was just experiencing race after race that it makes me feel it even more. But I love watching the people that just make cutoff at the end.
Oh, I do too.
It's my favorite thing to see because, like, and I argue this, not that I argue it, but like I feel like people don't understand it. But the people that barely make it at cutoff are putting in just as much effort, if not more, than the people that win races and the people that break course records and
I
the people that are
absolutely agree.
hammering because they literally like it's all that they have, like all that they have. And there's just been a couple of times where I've been lucky enough to like just be turned down and catch up to the last person and then just drop course markings and be like, you know what, like this is priority
Yeah,
and run in the last couple of miles with several people. And that's been my favorite thing to do. Like
yeah.
it's never planned, but when it happens, it's just like it's such an honor to help someone get there. And
Hmm.
that's just super awesome. Like those are like my favorite times to
Yeah,
experience trail run.
yeah.
Um,
I like doing that at the summer races. Like, if when I finish and then, go sleep in my car for a couple hours and then get up about 6:30 and go stand at the finish to kind of watch the last people, come in at 7 a.m.
oh my gosh, man, Bandura was really awesome this year because like I remember it was like 2 or 3 a.m. and there was still like 40, 50 people out there at the finish, just like sitting in chairs huddled around the propane fire or propane heater. And yeah, all waiting. And like people were just flowing in. It was wild. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just being up that late and seeing that energy still hanging out. Like,
Mhm.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
super cool. So, all right. Well, this was a fun little chat.
Nah, it's always good chatting with you, Donna.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else you wanted to throw in that, I mean, I know you've told me, just so people get the right idea, you've yet to break even, I guess, financially on this, right?
Um, that's I didn't. That's it's weird to answer that because that's not like how it works, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Sorry.
but I guess like, are you saying like? I mean, I'm not gonna. So for the price that I bought the company for, I won't have paid that off yet, and it won't be for a while. If that's
Well,
what
I
you're
guess that's
asking.
what I'm saying. It's not like you get this immediate return.
No, yeah, that won't happen for a while because it was a
Right.
substantial
You
amount,
have to kind
right?
of be patient and,
Yeah,
and whatnot. Yeah. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
So,
why I just think people need to understand that because it's like, it's not like, because, I don't want somebody to listen to this and just go, wow, that sounds fun and easy.
no, no, no. I'll just put it like that. Not yet. Hopefully soon, but it's gonna be a while, and that's okay because I know what I signed up for.
Right.
And if there's anything running has taught me, it's being patient. Just putting in the work, and then eventually the results will show, and that translates to a lot of things in life. So I'm not worried about it, but I'm waiting. Just trying to be patient, But
Well, it's like running
I,
a race, isn't it? It's like you have to be patient with yourself.
well, I mean, that's one whole thing. Is like I don't think I mentioned this, but it's something that I sincerely mean that I don't care about the money. Like I literally started out as a volunteer. Like everything I'm doing now, at one point I've done for free because I enjoy doing it because I
Right.
enjoy the community, because there's a standard of like helping people and serving. Like I don't even like, I see myself as a server. Like
Mhm.
I see myself literally as a, I don't know, but that's how I envision myself. I don't know what people see me as or how they look at me, but like I am literally there to cater to people's needs, wants, and goals, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
specifically there to do things for people. And once it starts, if I ever see it going the other way around, then I'm gonna do something about it. But um, yeah, I could care less about the money.
Well,
It's
you got to eat.
money comes and goes. Yeah, I mean for sure, right? But like that's never like I've never had it in my mind that I can't figure something out.
Right. Well, you're,
So
yeah,
it's just like
you're
one way or another. Yeah, one way or another, hustle and figure it out, right? Like that's what you have to
that's
do
you.
in general. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, PJ, hang loose for a quick second. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording.